Day 5 of reading the Bible this year. Today we start with Matthew chapters 15 through 17. Chapter 15 starts out with Jesus' further rejection of ceremonial law. The Pharisees say the disciples go against the tradition of the elders by not washing their hands when they eat. Jesus basically says by holding their tradition so high they go against the 10 Commandments at times. And in Matthew chapter 15 verse 6 he says, "So for the sake of your tradition you have made void the word of God, you hypocrites. Well did Isaiah prophesy you." Then Jesus goes further on the law. "Not what goes into the mouth defiles a man, but what comes out. This defiles a man." Peter asks him to explain this. Jesus says, "Whatever goes into the mouth passes on, but what comes out of the mouth comes from the heart. For out of the heart come evil thoughts, murder, adultery, fornication, theft, false witness, and slander." Jesus then passes along the Sea of Galilee, and great crowds came to him, and he heals them all, and they glorified the God of Israel. After this, Jesus wanted to feed the crowds that came to him again. And with 7 loaves of bread and a few small fish, he fed 4,000 families, with 7 baskets of scraps left over. Then sending away the crowds, he got into a boat and went to the region of Magadan. And the Pharisees here demand another sign from Jesus from the heavens. So the Pharisees wanted a sign from the heavens, basically in the sky, and Jesus says, you can tell the weather by the clouds. You can see if it's going to rain or it's going to storm. But the only sign that you're going to be getting is the sign of Jonah, which we discussed previously of him resurrecting from the dead in 3 days. Jesus then says to his disciples, "Take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees." And when he said this, he meant to beware of the teaching of the Pharisees and Sadducees. Jesus asks his disciples, "Who do men say that the Son of Man is?" The disciples reply, "Some say you're John the Baptist, others say Elijah, or one of the prophets." Jesus says, "Who do you say I am?" Peter answers, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." Jesus replies, "Blessed are you, Peter, son of Bar-Jonah. For flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. And I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades shall not prevail against it. I will give you the keys of my kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven." And this is where Jesus gives Peter the authority to start his church. Jesus then foretells his death and resurrection. From that time, Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed, and on the 3rd day be raised. Jesus then tells us to deny ourselves, to pick up our cross, and follow him. And what Jesus is saying when he tells you to deny yourself is to deny your human nature to sin and to pick up your cross, pick up your burdens, fight the temptations, and follow him to be Christ-like. We start off chapter 17 with the transfiguration. Jesus took Peter and James and John up a high mountain. On this mountain, Jesus' face shone like the sun and his garments were white as light. Moses and Elijah appeared before them and started talking to Jesus. And he says, "You will make 3 booths, one for each of them." And while Peter was talking, a voice from the sky said, "This is my beloved son." And Jesus tells them not to talk about what they saw until he is raised from the dead. And at the end of this chapter, he foretells his death and resurrection again. So there's 3 major things that happen in this reading today. First is Peter proclaiming Jesus as the Christ, and Jesus giving the authority to Peter to build his church. Second is Jesus foretelling his death and resurrection in Jerusalem. And the third, of course, is the transfiguration, where the 3 disciples see Elijah and Moses, and they hear the voice of the Father. All right, that concludes the readings for today. I'll see y'all tomorrow.